This program contains discussions of real-life crimes and may not be suitable for all audiences. When Darkness Falls is created for educational and awareness purposes, every effort has been made to ensure accuracy, and we tell these stories with deep respect for the victims, their families, and their communities. The goal is not to sensationalize, but to remember, to understand, and to learn.
Valentine's Day is supposed to be about young love, handwritten notes, shy smiles, and futures waiting to unfold. But in Littleton, Colorado, in the year 2000, February 14th ended not with roses, but with gunfire. Two teenagers who should have been planning their next date instead became the center of one of Colorado's most heartbreaking unsolved mysteries. Before we start, you're welcome to subscribe and turn on notifications. We upload 3 times a week. And if you like, share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters here. At the turn of the millennium, Littleton, Colorado was still trying to heal. Less than a year earlier, Columbine had put the town's name in headlines around the world. But for most families, life kept moving forward. Kids still walked to school. Couples still held hands in the halls. Teenagers still dream about the future. Two of those teenagers were Nicholas Kunselman and Stephanie Hart-Grizzell. Nick was 15, a sophomore with an easy smile and a love for skateboarding and music. Stephanie, just 16, was soft-spoken and sweet, the kind of girl who lit up when she was around friends. They were what people called young love, inseparable, protective of each other, still learning about the world, but sure about how they felt. By February of 2000, the two were steady sweethearts. They talked about the future the way only teenagers do, with hope, certainty, and no thought that time could be cut short. Valentine's Day should have been just another day to celebrate their closeness. Instead, it would become the day their lives ended in violence, and the day their families' lives were changed forever. It was a Monday night, Valentine's Day, where Nicholas Kunselman, a part-time job at the Subway sandwich shop on Columbine Avenue, just blocks from Columbine High, picked up the shift to earn a little extra money. A quiet night was expected. A few late-night customers, mostly locals, grabbing a quick bite. He liked being near her on those long, slow shifts. Friends later said it was typical. They enjoyed even the simple things. Sitting together in an empty shop, whispering jokes, making sandwiches they'd share. As the night wore on, traffic slowed. Outside, the February air was cold. The streets almost empty. Inside, the bright fluorescent lights hummed over the counters and tiled floor. For Nick and Stephanie, it was just another evening together. Familiar, comfortable, ordinary. But sometime before midnight, their ordinariness shattered. Around closing time, Stephanie's mother tried calling, but as the minutes dragged on, a mother's instinct whispered that something was wrong. Stephanie always called back. By 12:45 a.m., worry had turned to fear. Stephanie's mother, Tina, drove to the subway herself. Light still glowed inside. What she saw made her heart stop. 911 was called immediately. Dispatchers tried to keep the caller calm, but the words, 2 kids down, 2 kids shot, carried urgencies that shook even hardened first responders.
This is 7 News at 10.
So much has happened here in Littleton in the past year, you know? People dying all over the place. It's not supposed to happen here.
Another blow to the Columbine community. Tonight, another makeshift memorial for 2 students killed at a Subway sandwich shop. Good evening, I'm Ann Trujillo.
And I'm Bertha Lynn, and Mitch joins us on assignment.
Good evening, I'm Mitch Jelniker reporting live from Las Vegas, where a Columbine hero received a special honor tonight for his courage. I'll have a live report in just a minute.
Thanks, Mitch. Tonight, Littleton residents are coping with yet another shooting tragedy. The bodies of Columbine students 16-year-old Nicholas Kunselman and 15-year-old Stephanie Hart were found early this morning in a Subway restaurant within sight of the high school.
We have team coverage tonight with 7 News reporters Hendrik Sabrandi and Sean McLaughlin. And Hendrik, let's start with you.
Well, Ann and Bertha, a couple of new items to report tonight. First of all, it is not clear how much help the Subway store's surveillance camera will be in this investigation. There's a question tonight as to whether there was actually a tape working properly inside that camera. Secondly, investigators are waiting on store officials to do an audit of the cash drawer in the shop. That will help determine whether, in fact, this was a robbery that went horribly wrong. The investigators are done for the evening, but they're expected back Tuesday to finish processing a crime scene that was first discovered by an off-duty store employee. At 12:45 a.m. Monday, she dialed 911.
She just happened to be driving by and saw the lights on very late and decided to stop and check on the employees inside there.
She found 2 bodies behind the store counter. Both victims had been shot. Authorities won't say if they found a weapon.
The female party called us on 911 and at the same time saw a young male leaving the area that we would like to talk to.
15-year-old Nicholas Kunselman was supposed to close the store. 16-year-old Stephanie Hart was there visiting him.
He'd always come in and he'd say hi and stuff. He was really nice and friendly. I mean, I just don't understand how this could happen.
Laid back, nice, just doing his job.
I was hanging out with him last night, just like I said, and now he's dead. It's just crazy.
Crazy and incomprehensible to the mother of a Columbine student who died a mile away nearly a year ago.
I mean, it's just something you can't even imagine of what it's like to actually lose your child, and I know right where they're at. And these students, I mean, it's just one thing after another.
Investigators are playing down any connection to Columbine and are just beginning to sort out how and why this happened.
It's a completely separate incident that occurred.
Now, witnesses could be very critical in this case. As you heard, there was reference made to a young man who was seen leaving this parking lot area. We have a description of that person. He is described as a young white male in his late teens or early 20s. He was seen wearing a red jacket with flared pants. If you have any information or think you may have seen this person, call the Jefferson County Sheriff's Department tip line. That number, you see it on the screen, 303-271-5605. It'll be interesting to see whether there are any reports of sightings of this young man or if any other witnesses step forward to help investigators with this very mysterious case. Anna, Bertha?
All right, thank you, Hendrik.
Let's go now to 7 News anchor Sean McLaughlin with more reaction from the community tonight. Sean?
Bertha, there is a tragic sense of deja vu here in Littleton tonight. I'm standing next to yet another crime scene memorial, and I've just returned from a memorial service for some slain Columbine High School students. With tear-filled eyes and weary hearts, they gathered in disbelief.
With Columbine fresh in all of our hearts and in all of our minds, we sometimes suspect, do we have one more tear that we can cry?
This service at the Calvary Church wasn't intended as a memorial for slain Columbine High School students Nick Kunselman and Stephanie Hart, but it became one. It was also an emotional outlet for the many friends they left behind.
And these kids have suffered so much. So Lord, again, I pray that you would strengthen them. Lord, give them the courage and the love that they're going to need in order to face the next few days.
At the crime scene, more signs of compassion and heartache. Friends and fellow students have created a sidewalk memorial near the business where the bodies were found. The location is only several blocks from Columbine High School and just a memory away from April 19th of last year.
It's just I've lost 2 more of my friends, and that just adds to everybody else that we lost during April, and it's hard.
It's hard for anyone here to believe they are going through this again, but if they have learned anything this past year, it is to hold on to one another. There's been a steady stream of Columbine High School students coming by here tonight, leaving notes and leaving flowers. Just a couple of minutes ago, a young lady showed up and she was very tearful. They all seem to have the same reaction. Number one, they can't believe this has happened. And number two, it all seems to take them back to April 19th, 1999, April 20th.
Very sad.
Certainly unbelievable. Thank you, Sean.
And despite the tragic news of the shooting, school events carried on.
Thank you.
A moment of silence tonight at DU as the boys and girls teams both played, Columbine taking on their rivals Chatfield High School. Recapping now, 2 Columbine students were found shot to death in a Subway restaurant this morning. Police are investigating tonight, but they have no suspects, no motive at this time. And grief counselors are helping students cope with yet another tragedy.
Within minutes, police cruisers lit up the parking lot. Red and blue flashes washed over the storefront glass. Officers hurried inside, weapons drawn. But it was clear, whoever had done this was long gone. Neighbors and friends gathered, drawn by the commotion. Some cried, some clung to each other, all of them asking the same question. Why? Inside, detectives began securing the scene. Shell casings were found near the bodies. There was no forced entry, no sign of robbery. The cash register was intact. The shop was in order. It didn't look like a typical holdup. It looked personal. The coroner's office arrived before dawn, a grim confirmation that there would be no miracle. As Nicholas and Stephanie's bodies were taken away, officers quietly shook their heads. 2 teenagers murdered on Valentine's Day, less than a mile from Columbine High School. For the families, the nightmare had only begun. Detectives worked quickly to secure every angle of the scene. Photographs, fingerprints, ballistics, witnesses canvassed, all routine. But in this case, time was the enemy. The first theory was robbery, but the register wasn't touched. The safe was untouched. Nicholas and Stephanie still had their belongings. It didn't fit. Whoever killed them hadn't come for money. Soon, word spread through Littleton. 2 more teenagers were dead. For families still raw from Columbine, the news hit like salt in an open wound. Parents pulled their kids closer. Students whispered in the hallways. Everyone asked the same question. Who would target 2 kids working late in a sandwich shop? Investigators gathered what little they had. A witness description of a man seen running from the subway around the time of the murders. A white male, medium build, wearing a hoodie. The sighting was fleeting. The sketch produced from it was vague at best. Shell casings were matched to a small caliber handgun, but no weapon was ever recovered. Rumors began to swirl. Some pointed to gang involvement. Others whispered about drugs, retaliation, or jealous ex. In a community desperate for answers, every whisper felt like a clue, but most led nowhere. Detectives chased leads across the county. They interviewed classmates, friends, co-workers. They listened to tips from neighbors who swore they'd seen strange cars in the area. But time after time, the trail grew cold. Then came the false confessions. Men in prison miles away wrote letters or called hotlines claiming responsibility. Some wanted attention. Others hoped for reduced sentences on unrelated charges. Each confession drained more time and energy from investigators, only to collapse under scrutiny. As weeks turned to months, the case began to stall. Without DNA, without the murder weapon, without a solid eyewitness, detectives were left with little more than theories. But for the families, there was no stalling. Every Valentine's Day was a reminder every unanswered phone call a phantom echo of that night. The investigation was still alive, but hope was beginning to flicker. In the days after Nicholas and Stephanie's murders, the community of Littleton struggled to breathe. It wasn't just grief for two teenagers stolen on Valentine's Day. It was the weight of everything that had come before. Colorado already knew loss. It already knew what it meant to live with cases that drifted into silence. They were reminders that sometimes violence doesn't make national headlines. Sometimes it slips quietly into the margins, leaving families to carry the weight alone. That's why, when Nicholas and Stephanie were found shot to death inside the subway on Valentine's Day 2000, the loss hit with devastating force. The community gathered in vigils. Friends held hands in candlelight. They spoke Nicholas and Stephanie's names. They shared stories of laughter, of young love, but beneath the prayers was a deep, unspoken fear. What if the killers were never found? By the fall of 2000, 7 months after the murders, the investigation was already slowing. Dozens of leads chased, none that held. By the first anniversary, the case slipped into that dreaded category, a cold case.
It's been 20 years since two teenagers were murdered while they worked at a subway near Columbine High School. It was not long after the shooting at Columbine High and further rattled the community. Still unsolved. Our Mikaela White is live at the Jeffco Sheriff's Office this morning, where they are trying to shake free some information that might just help solve a cold case. Mac?
They are, Alan. They are upping the reward because they know someone out there knows something about this unsolved case. It's been 20 years since these two teenagers were murdered. They were high school sweethearts, and they were murdered on Valentine's Day. This was 15-year-old Nick Kunselman and 16-year-old Stephanie Hart. They were found lying behind the counter at a Subway, shot to death at around 1 a.m. That's after an employee noticed the lights were on passing by. Now, Nick worked at the Subway, and Stephanie was at the restaurant waiting for him to get off work, and all these years later, the motive is still unclear. Sheriff's deputies aren't sure if a robbery took place leading up to that crime, and if the crime wasn't horrific enough. It happened right near Columbine, less than a year after the shooting, so a real devastating blow to this community. So that increase will be announced in just a few hours here at 8 a.m. here at the Jeffco Sheriff's Office. We will be here. We'll have the very latest in our noon show coming up. For now, we're live in Jefferson County. Mikaela White covering Colorado First.
We look forward to the update.
Holidays passed. Valentine's Day became unbearable. Friends tossed frisbees in Nick's memory on the high school lawn. Stephanie's mother, Tina, spoke of her daughter's smile, but police reports gathered dust. Files moved to shelves. Weeds dried up. For years, the case sat in silence, until 2005, when America's Most Wanted featured Nicholas and Stephanie's story. Their faces reached millions of homes. Weeds trickled in, none that solved the case. But they were not forgotten. In 2020, when the 20th anniversary hope surged again, a $100,000 reward was announced. Evidence was re-examined, new technology applied. The message was clear. This case was still open. Valentine's Day is supposed to be about love, flowers, candy hearts, teenagers sneaking fries in the back of a Subway shop. For Nicholas Kunselman and Stephanie Hart-Grizzell, Valentine's Day 2000 should have been just that. Instead, it ended with gunshots. Two young lives cut short. Their murders remain frozen in time, unsolved, unanswered. But when we tell their story, we remember them not just as victims, but as kids who loved, who laughed, who lived. We defy the silence, and maybe, just maybe, one day soon, someone will break it open